in the way it says it.
Hey there, what do you say there? I was told that the ads come up and you kind of missed this part. So, hey there, what do you say there, world? Welcome to the Races Recap. I am your host, Justine, with my lovely fiance and co-host, Diana. We were the green team on season 27's Amazing Race, and we are here today to recap Amazing Race Canada Season 4, Episode 5. And this one's got I like this one. I like this episode. There was a lot of things that we could talk about in this episode. And before we get started, I just want to apologize to Stefan and Antoine if I was a little harsh in my last recap of the Amazing Race
I probably said
Canada.
Too.
So let's get into that. All right. I have a problem with the Amazing Race Canada people quitting and quitting tasks and thinking that's okay. I think there's been more people quitting, more tasks quit in the first 4 seasons of the Amazing Race Canada than the first 10 or 15 seasons of Amazing Race America. So that's
but some would argue that their tasks are harder, and that's why.
But they're not. That's what I was pointing out. And that's
okay. Well, again, that's your opinion.
That's one. Well, they're not. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. We talked about it last week, and that was one of the things. It's like I don't want to read online that their tasks are harder. That's why they quit. There was nothing hard about any of those tasks, or harder about any of those tasks. I mean, they did that task in Amazing Race America.
I thought this was like an apology.
It is
like an apology, and then
I'm clarifying it. So they did that task in Amazing Race America, and they had to get them through 3 places before they got them into the pens. So the task in America was actually hard, and they had an individual group now out of 300. But anyway, that's kind of where my frustrations lie. It's when people are saying that the tasks are harder or etc. I just hate the people quitting. Stop quitting. If you can't, that shouldn't even be an option in your head. Like literally, take an hour nap. Go sit in the shade, take an hour nap, and come back and try again. It's better than taking a 4-hour penalty for any task ever. All right. Anyway, we got that out of the way.
Yeah, I don't think you made anything better, but.
I don't think you helped. Thanks.
Well, I don't know what you're going to say.
Amazing Race Canada Season 4, Episode 5 takes place. Vietnam is where we're starting, and we're heading back to
British Columbia.
Heading back to Canada. To one of the, I love the scenery. The scenery in Canada has been really, really pretty. Like a lot of travel porn. It's been beautiful islands. It's been cold. It's been hot. It's a little bit of everything in Canada, and I can understand why that they can have a whole season in Canada, or the Canadians like to see their country shown in a great light because it's not featured in many movies or things like that. So I can understand that. U.S. versions and Canadian versions both have equally difficult and less difficult tasks. All right.
Justin would disagree with that, but.
I mean, you're competing for $1 million. It should be hard. It shouldn't make it easy. It should be hard. Every task should be.
But we head back to British Columbia.
We head back to
Haida
Gwaii Islands. Haida Gwaii Islands in British Columbia, where the surprise team of Kelly and Kate, who finished first in the last episode, are taking off in first place at 10:28, followed by Steph and Kristen, who have been second place pretty much every leg of this
I like
race.
Their analogy, the always a bridesmaid, never a bride. So.
Yeah, so they've been the most consistent team in the race so far. They're followed by Rita and Yvette, who have their highest placement so far. Frankie and Amy, Josh and Joel and Ashley, and Jill and Emmett were way behind. They left at 12:56, and Kelly and Kate left at 10:28. So they were 2.5 hours behind the first place team.
A lot of time to make up, but I think they were all on the same flight. So.
Yeah, and an hour behind the team ahead of them. So they wasn't even close for last.
The team ahead of them.
Yeah, Joel and Ashley was 11:57.
Julian Lowell left at 12:18.
Oh, 12:18. Oh, I didn't have Julian. Julian Lowell at 12:18, and then Emmett and Jillian at 12:56. So it wasn't even close for that last. But another bunch point that they don't really point out too much on the Amazing Race Canada. They don't point out, like, all teams are on the same flight, heading to the same area. Like, they don't make it as big of a deal as they do in America. But it is another bunch point which is something I read, that there wasn't a lot of bunch points in this season of Canada, and there's been one every leg except one. So I don't know a lot of the things that I read and I don't agree with, so I kind of address them here. All right, so Vietnam to British Columbia, they're all on the same flight, but what I love about this episode is when they land, it's a self-drive, and they get the they get those Chevys, and it's not just like a Chevy pickup truck, it's like Chevy sports cars.
So what I noticed, because they had to park on a ferry right away, where they got to park on the ferry determined.
It's a little
leaving the
strategy.
ferry, yeah.
A little strategy got involved, just like our first leg on Mother's Beach in Venice, California. It was a race to the taxis. And we knew we weren't going to be the fastest team there because, I mean, there's track stars, and then the brothers were dancers were just in phenomenal shape, and they were just lightning. So the strategy we had was don't get to the first cab, get to the furthest away cab, and then block everybody else in. And I think that strategy, little strategy like that, helps all along the way. So I think it worked for Jillian and Emmett because they were one of the last teams to get on the boat, but the second team to get off the boat.
Right, worked out for them.
Yeah, so. The first roadblock, who wants to, they have to drive their Chevy Volt to a ferry, and then from that ferry they have to then get off and drive again to a museum and get their next clue, which is another beautiful scenery, getting on the boat, another shot of a beautiful lake.
Well, something that they said about this Haida Gwaii place, that it's where they're like ancient people are from. So I guess it's like American Native Americans. This is where the Canadian Native Americans.
I think they call them the first, not first people.
Yeah.
Is it first people?
Yeah, the first people.
First Nation. First people is Game of Thrones. Right? The first men?
No, first men and first people. I think
King of the first men. Yeah.
No, but it said that like that land has been used by the ancient. I put ancient people for 13,000 years.
It might be. It's what they call the Canadian American Indians.
No, Canadian Indians.
Yeah.
Canadian Native Indians.
They're all North American. You know what I'm trying to say, all right? Them the Americans who don't know what to call Canadian Indians. Right? And they're not Indian, that's cool.
They're ancient people.
I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody. It's just ignorance.
They're natives.
All right, they're native to the land. So it's a beautiful place, the roadblock. Who wants the inside story?
I probably would have done this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like an eating challenge.
Old stories, books that like.
And it's not an eating challenge. It's not the thing you were scared of.
Right.
So we figured. I think Diana would have done this one from the beginning. Listen to the story. So you have to sit down with these tribe leaders of some sort, and they tell you a story about the totem poles, which are representative for their tribe, and they tell you about the animals on the poles and who carved those totem poles. And what your job was to do is to remember the story so you can put the pole with the person who carved it and use the story to figure out who carved what.
Yes.
And then you have to tell a judge all 6 carvings, totem poles, and who carved each pole. So it was a memory task, and I think Diana would have nailed this. She's got this good.
I have so.
We went on
I have like those little peg words.
Yeah, we went on a cruise, first cruise together, and on the cruise was a guy, a mentalist, who gave us tricks on how to memorize things.
It was just having a peg word for like numbers 1 to 10, 1 bun, 2 shoe, and you
put a story together.
Yeah, you make up a silly sentence like connecting bun to whatever you want to remember. So you would say, this is how we remembered our Amazing Race commandments.
Yeah.
Because we used the mnemonics.
So it works. It's the simple little things like that work along the way. So the roadblock is listen to the story. And then I like that it was cultural, extremely cultural. I like that they had the native dance beforehand and they were doing all that. I love that.
Yeah,
so you can
as
experience.
a sideliner, I would have liked to have won. Well, you would have gotten to enjoy that.
Yeah, I liked all the native and the authentic aspect of this. So it's just like going to any other country and feeling the traditions and the cultures, but it's for this part of Canada, which is awesome.
And I forget who had said it. Maybe it was Steph and Kristen said that it made them appreciate coming from Canada.
Yeah,
it made you realize like where you live.
It's like people in America who don't travel around to the 50 states. Like you don't realize how diverse America is and how different it is from Seattle to Miami and Portland to Arizona.
Being west and being south.
Yeah, north, south.
How east,
It's crazy.
Going to California and being an East Coaster, you're like, oh my God, I could never
life is
here.
different.
Yeah.
East Coast is like everybody's stuck together and built high. West Coast is everybody's far apart and spread low.
But even attitudes. I mean, just
laid back versus
very blunt and
in your
hard.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And West Coasters like, what's it
And people down south are so different than people in the Midwest, and so there's a lot of diversity in America, and it's cool to see that diversity in Canada, because as Americans we don't appreciate Canada. I don't think we appreciate Canada for the great country it is. It's been one of our best allies ever since the beginning of our nation.
Yeah, I've never been to Canada, so to my list.
So drive yourself to the Spirit Lake Trail and put together a puzzle pieces to get your next clue. I like this, another route info, and this is a tough route info, probably the toughest task of the whole episode.
Well, there was a lot. There was the whole memorizing of the totem poles, and then you had to go and do the puzzle. I thought I missed something.
Oh no, that's the roadblock, right? And then that's it. That's the roadblock.
Totem poles?
Yes, the totem poles. I skipped to the next part without telling you the placement. So Steph and Kristen beasted this challenge. They got through. Joel and Ashley were right behind them. Kelly and Kate, I like their strategy. Their strategy was they're not great with the storytelling and remembering. They just kind of hung out near the place where the judges were, and they listened to everybody else, and they just saw two people go, and then they went right after them and memorized the six. And I mean, if one of your strengths is not memory, that's one way to use smarts, gamesmanship, to gain an advantage in a game. And I appreciate seeing a team that I thought was pretty much going to be gone first or second week have a little strategy when they know that this is weak.
They made it a lot farther than we all gave them credit for.
Right. I mean, they didn't. We'll get to it, but they have things that they're amazing at, tasks that they're either great at or they suck at. That's pretty much their problem.
I think every team has that. I think every team has their.
Well, they have strengths and weaknesses, but I don't think every team has something they're great and suck at. I think a lot of people like Kelsey and Joe. I think they're good at everything. They weren't great at anything. They didn't suck at anything. They were just good at everything. Right. So I think that's kind of whereas here they were they're great at certain things and then they suck at other things. And with this task, I like their strategy. They were just sitting there listening to other people. And this is where Frankie and Amy, they got their task and then they started running off. And there's a group left of people waiting. And they asked, it was Jillian, Rita, and Julie, and they were asking Frankie for help.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, you help us. And she kind of blew right by them. But
yeah, I don't know if she just acted like she didn't hear it or if she was just a little intentional shade. It's getting a little down to the nitty-gritty here.
It was a little shade, but I think it was, you almost want to just ignore and pretend like you didn't hear it instead of saying, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm just going to pretend like I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
I used to have a student that liked to talk, and then sometimes I would just pretend like I was not listening or paying attention.
You like the strategy. She pretty much cheated. Well, there's nothing that's cheating about it. The problem is if you're going to go up to the judge and you're going to be all loud about it and point out stuff about it, that's up to you. That's you as not caring about the people behind you.
If that happened on our leg
and if I saw somebody listening, you think I'd have been screaming? I'd have been like, all right, one is so-and-so. Two is so-and-so. If I think somebody's behind me, I'm not giving anybody help unless it was Kelsey and Joey, who are the people that we helped. So yes, Melissa, I like the strategy. They knew they were sucking at that challenge, so they used gamesmanship and smarts.
I wouldn't call that gamesmanship.
It is gamesmanship. It's you. I think gamesmanship is knowing the rules of the game.
Made that up.
No, for me, gamesmanship is knowing the rules of the game and using those rules to your advantage. Rules that other people don't see the game involved. Maybe it's just me. What else is going on in the chat room? Did anyone go back and listen to the story? Yeah, people went back and listened, but they didn't listen to the whole story. And I think after you heard the story once, you kind of just picked an animal and then just associated that animal with the artist.
Yeah, but there was a bear told in two stories.
Yeah, but then there was a bear eating a human, and then there was a regular bear. And then there was a beaver with his teeth out. So there was, things that...
It was all, And that's just like Steph and Kristen, who nailed it on the first try.
Yeah.
She took her time. She listened to the story. She committed to it.
Jillian and Emmett had the hardest time on this task, and Jillian was just terrible with this task. They're a team that they're boom or bust. They could be super strong and win any leg, but you'll never be surprised if they go home any leg of this race because of something that happens. She freaking out or somebody freaking out. But they always have something that they're really strong at. And we'll get to that a little later as well. So drive yourselves to the Spirit Lake Trail and put the puzzle together to get your next clue. I like this task. It's another route info that was pretty difficult. It seemed to be the hardest task of this whole leg.
Can we go back to when Frankie I'm sorry, when Amy blew by Rita,
Jillian and Julie.
Jillian and Julie, they all stopped to actually help each other. And people had hung back.
Oh, that group of three.
That group of three gave each other the answer, and they took their time. They waited for the other ones, and they all kind of left together. What do you think about that?
I think when you're in the back, that is a stupid thing to do unless you know you could beat the other two. Like, if you know that the other two, I could beat them in a foot race, or I could beat them in whatever the next task is.
And that's kind of what Julie had said about, like, I hope this doesn't come back to bite us because, you know, with Lowell losing his sight, that they might have needed that time that they got out ahead instead of waiting behind. So they were hoping that didn't come back to bite them in the butt. But I don't know. Do you like people helping like that?
No. I don't like people helping like that, especially near the back. And if you're one of the people that's going to go home, that's not a good look. And listen, if you're going to have a team that you're aligned with, cool. If you're going to try to, like, every leg of the race help somebody just to get some good graces, not cool. If you're going to quit a leg, not cool. All right, drive yourself to the Spirit Lake. All right, the self-drive didn't seem to be too difficult for anybody so far. Only one or two teams may have gotten a little lost, but not for long. At least according to the way it was edited. The puzzle looked really difficult because there was no reference.
Yeah, there was no reference, which I liked.
Yeah.
I like it was just like,
go do it.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Get it done.
I like that part. It sucks to watch as a viewer, but I like the fact that it was intricate and hard and played to some strengths and made a little separation for the teams. And this is where Kelly and Kate really had a hard time, and they couldn't cheat or use gamesmanship at all to get any kind of advantage. So they were really, like, they got there pretty early but left last. Jillian and Emmett, they got there and beasted this challenge. This is something that it didn't matter if they're communicating bad. They went in and beasted this challenge. Then they went and helped Julie and Lowell before leaving.
Because they had helped them.
Because they had helped earlier. They repaid them. And then on the way out, as they're running, they drop their clue because they see, who they see? Joel. They see Joel and Ashley running. So they run right behind him and then drop their clue. And now here's another gamesmanship, another smart play by Emmett. So Emmett and Jillian know that they lost their clue. And they got Joel and Ashley that are leaving with them at the same time. So while Jillian is looking for the clue, Emmett distracts Joel and Ashley from leaving and asks them questions.
Yeah.
And so he's stalling them from leaving, which is awesome gamesmanship. I love the mind of him. Like, he's always thinking of any way to win.
I think you're making up a word, gamesmanship, but we'll get to that.
Gamesmanship's not a word?
I don't know.
100% gamesmanship is a word. Google it. If it's not, then I'm trademarking it. Gamesmanship. No, I like the fact that he's thinking. He's on his feet thinking like, oh my God, we could be in first, but we effed up. So what can we do to maintain that first place? So I like the fact that he kind of told Joel and Ashley, like, asking for directions or whatever.
I stand corrected.
What?
Gamesmanship. The art of winning games by using various ploys and tactics to gain psychological advantage.
And it even fit. It was used properly. So I like that. I like that part, that fatal error. They know they made a mistake, but they're smart enough to try to make up a little time from that mistake. Joel and Ashley did see the clue on the floor and didn't say anything. I also like that. The fact that they didn't say anything.
Yeah, but they didn't take advantage of the fact that they lost their clue. Just like, let's leave and let's find directions further down the road.
And I think that's a part. This is a time where, like, if they were asking you, you're like nice and kind of might want to help. Where if they would have asked me, I'd have been like, preach, I'm out. And you'd be like, you didn't have to be such a jerk. And I'd have been like, well, you know.
Yes, you don't have to always be a jerk. You can be like, sorry, guys, and then just leave. You could say the I'm sorry and then go. Instead of being like, we're not helping you. I can't believe I'm going to marry you. Like, seriously.
The clue said that those were two artworks. Right. Well, not famous for us.
I feel like I missed hearing the clue about that. Was it part of the roadblock is what I asked.
I don't think it was. No, it wasn't part of the roadblock. It was after the roadblock. It was like it's a route info.
Okay.
And then from that route info, they had to go and to the next roadblock, a double roadblock episode. What do you think about double roadblock episodes?
I don't mind them.
And randomly placed? Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Doesn't.
Well, some people like them near the end.
Yeah, but I feel like, too, it gave a
beginning.
chance for them to switch it up because I feel like I haven't seen Lowell do a roadblock. I feel like this was a chance for, okay, you get your stuff done, and then
I like a forced roadblock because it forces somebody out of their comfort zone and makes you be a team.
Right, and you kind of base your first decision on a certain thing, and then your second decision, you don't get to make that decision because it's forced.
So that one decision in the beginning makes a big difference in the end because it determines who does the second roadblock. It's something that they didn't have in a lot of the Amazing Race America seasons, especially in the beginning. So I like the fact that they're putting people out of their comfort zone, and that we got to see Lowell step it up. Like,
he did have to step it up.
He stepped it up. He had problems and he worked through it.
But I'm also like, there was a piece of me. Julie said it, and she said something like, he's excited because he doesn't normally get to use machinery or drive machinery. And I'm like, you're right. Like, it's got to be such a fun thing to be like, you know what? I can't crash anything here. I'm just going to do this.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know what Lowell sees like, Lowell kind of sees like this. He sees as if like this, while we see like this. So he sees a very small, like, pinpoint. So he can see a little bit. He's not totally blind.
But he doesn't have that peripheral vision where...
Yeah, well, you have to literally zoom in. It's like binoculars.
Right.
If you miss it by a foot,
he has to actually turn his head and look for whatever is in his field of vision.
So what they had to do, what he had to do, is who's ready to log on. You have to drive to Cow Bay Marina and take a water taxi, which leaves every 20 minutes. I like that fact that it didn't matter when you got there. You had to wait for that water taxi, and that it's caused forced separation for teams. So you had to wait every 20 minutes. And you use this, they called it a dozer. It's like a tugboat.
That looked awesome.
Yeah.
It looked like a bumper boat.
Yeah, a big bumper boat that wouldn't flip over because they would just like ramming into stuff, and it was just the buoyancy was crazy.
Jinx.
So they had to bring 3 booms of wood to a marked area. And a boom of wood is I guess, wood that's packed, wrapped in whatever. And
like
it had bundles of wood. And they had this red tie, like a ribbon on it, that you had to see, which caused problems for Lowell because he couldn't see very well.
Yeah, I feel like it should have been a brighter color. But I guess
red is the color. It's either red or yellow.
Yellow on those logs would have stood out a lot easier than that red. I mean, and it was like a dark red. It wasn't even a bright red.
So this task here was, I liked it. I liked the fun of it. I liked that it was fun but difficult. I liked that if you used your brains, that you could gain an advantage over other teams.
Like Frankie.
Yes, it wasn't just whoever got there first leaves first, very linear. It was, why didn't anybody else think of that? Why didn't anybody else think of pushing the 3 bundles to one area and then taking a journey back and forth? Instead of going all the way from here to here 3 times, you go from here to here 3 times and then from here to here once.
Yeah, she kind of like separated the 3 of them from the other group, and then just
she went and got the wrong one on the first try, and then he was like, "You need the red bundle."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. She did it. She got 4 bundles, and one of them was completely wrong.
And then she got 3 bundles in a row and pushed all 3 of them. Mad respect, Frankie. I love that. Awesome thinking, and
I love because she was playing bumper boats. I mean, she was ramming.
She was not trying to be gentle or anything.
Was not.
She did not care. And
her boat was one that was like, oh my God, how's that thing not tipping over? I would have probably like lost my balance and fallen over.
Yeah, so they made up a lot of time and they finished that task really fast. Stephanie and Kristen they got there first. They beasted through it. They didn't do anything really extraordinary.
Although Emmett was catching up at this point.
They didn't do anything extraordinary. They knew they had to lead, so they were slow and Steph.
But I feel like it took Steph and Kristen. Who did this one? Steph? I feel like it took Steph. I don't know who did this one.
It's okay.
But I feel like it took her a little bit longer to get used to how to drive the boat, how to steer it, how to back up. And then when she got her bearings, it was like right at the time that Emmett was getting there. And he just, like Jillian said, he picked it up. He's good at everything except being a boyfriend. Yeah,
Emmett did a really good job. So Steph and Kristen finished that one first, followed by Jillian and Emmett. Frankie and Amy loved the way they handled that task.
Well, too, I think it was a combination of Amy not helping the 3 girls that were behind in the totem pole,
and
then Frankie beasting it and gathering all three of her bundles and bringing them down at once.
So Steph and Kristen, they left, and so they got on a water taxi that got a 20-minute lead, and then after them, Jillian and Emma took another water taxi, got another 20-minute lead, and then Frankie and Amy and Joel and Ashley were on the same water taxi that left. So to go to the pit stop, which was the North Pacific Cannery on Prince Edward, Canada. It's the City of Rainbows.
That's cool.
That's a cool thing to be known for. It's probably some great pictures about that too. So you had to take that
Maybe
water.
that's the double rainbow place.
They had to take a water taxi back 20 minutes and then self-drive to the pit stop, which I like. So there is some ways that people can pass once they finish the final test. I like that. I like the fact that that was included. It didn't work out too well except for one or two teams. But Steph and Kristen finished in first place, finally getting that victory, heading to New York City for 5 nights. Followed by Jillian and Emmett, who were kind of pissed to be in second place. Frankie and Amy and Joel and Ashley got off the boat, and they drove. They got that foot race, heading to the finish line. And a surprise, because I would have thought Joel and Ashley would have beaten Frankie and Amy, but Frankie and Amy powered through and beat them in a foot race, which is something that may come down the line psychologically later, because it's like I could beat them in a foot race, so
right.
I don't have to finish this task before them. I need to finish at the same time and then just beat them in a foot race. So psychologically, that gives teams an edge.
Sometimes those foot races are good to kind of size up your competition in a different way, as opposed to like task-wise. It's all right. Maybe we're not the best at this task, but we can make up that time later in a foot race.
Yeah,
but it was close.
Confidence changes everything in the race. Your confidence means everything. I think that.
Don't say Justin.
I think you saw that in leg 2. Once you got to that first roadblock that you did, and you beasted it, and you got through, and then we won, and you saw how we won. I think from that point on, you were like, okay, we can really do this.
Yeah. Melissa's commenting that they did look a little disappointed, Steph and Kristen, to have won the trip to New York, and I was kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a trip to New York. That's like getting a trip to Philadelphia. Like, yay, it's not.
If you're not from America, let's say, and you want to go to the USA, I think 9 out of 10 people would say they want to go to like New York.
Yeah, but it is kind of. I mean, I feel like
it's
to be from Canada and to get a trip to New York, it's like I want to go somewhere else. Like if we had gotten a trip to Toronto, or I'd be like, oh, it's fun. It's not like, thank you. I've always wanted to go there, but it's not like, oh my God, like you're jumping up and down.
So Jillian and Emma finished in second. Frankie and Amy beat Joel and Ashley in a foot race to finish third and fourth, followed by Rita and Yvette. And Julie and Lowell had a tough time with the task, but I have to give him a lot of respect and props for powering through and finishing the task ahead of Kelly and Kate, who didn't seem to have a chance this whole
They messed
episode.
up on the puzzle. They had one of the puzzles upside down, or
glossy side up.
Glossy side up. And when they realized their mistake, that's why it wasn't kind of fitting together. They flipped it over and just they could never recover from there. So that's unfortunate.
And only one pun from Lowell this episode, so I appreciate that. I love his humor. Listen, don't get it wrong. I know I kind of made fun of it last time. I love his sense of humor. I was
like, first you make jokes about everything.
I know.
Like you would.
I know, but it was just so cheesy. All of them are so cheesy. I can't get to it. It's like, but
I like cheese, so.
I like the fact that they have a great attitude for the whole race.
Love their relationship.
No matter what place they're finishing in, he's always excited to be there. And obviously, there's a heart-touching moment when he's like, "I'm doing this because I want to see the world before I go blind."
That killed me. That's a note that I made when they were on the seaplane. He said something like, I get to see all these beautiful sights before I lose my vision. And I was
you kind of forget that
my gosh,
he's not fully blind, but he's going to be. So all of these experiences, he's going to appreciate them more than anybody else on the race, because he literally will never see it again.
I agree. Melissa Baker saying that she loves his positive attitude, and I think for somebody that has, some upsetting things happening, or just the thought of losing your vision and not being able to see your wife and all these beautiful things, to have such a positive attitude and to not have this like, why me? It's a great coping mechanism to stay positive and to stay thankful and to stay happy.
No, yeah, and it's awesome. And it's something that helps on the race.
And two, I feel like we both kind of thought that his vision would be an impairment for him and that they would have gone home sooner. They made it the first 5 legs, but they're making smart decisions about what he's capable of and what is better off left for Julie because of his sight.
And so we have to see how the breakdown comes with the roadblocks, because there's going to be at some point where she's not going to have an option anymore, and he's going to have
But
to.
I think so far they've made smart decisions.
Oh, definitely did that. So next week they're heading to Hamilton, Ontario. They get a video message from home in the middle of the race. Has that ever been done? I don't remember ever seeing
I
it.
do remember TAR, I think it was TAR 3 US, where Ian and Terry got to make a phone call home. And he was like yelling at her, and the mobile, like the cell phone was like,
yeah, I remember that.
And it was just funny to see it, like.
So I like that, a little touch from home, so you can get some emotion involved. There's not this
I would love to have called home.
This cast doesn't seem to be emotional, except for like Jillian.
Justin, there's not many teams that are emotional on The Amazing Race. I mean, you are one, but really, who else is known to be emotional?
A lot of people are emotional.
Name.
Who?
I need a name.
Jim and Misty.
No.
Passion.
Were they crying?
Crying is not just
Say?
emotional.
Oh, okay.
Emotional is not just crying; it's showing emotions.
You don't
All of
think
them. Your
Julian
range of
and
emotions.
Emmett have showed
Yes,
emotion?
I said only them.
Oh.
Everybody else is kind of regular on
They're
the
like
line.
happy and they're enjoying themselves. Coop, what are you doing?
On TAR 10, the internet cafe. Yeah. And he's so cute. So next week they're flying. They get a video message from home. They got a flying roadblock that looks very similar to the planes that we flew, that I got to fly in France.
Yeah, they look like the biplanes.
Look like the same ones, same color pattern, same thing. So that looks pretty interesting. Frankie and Amy are going to be using the Express Pass next week, and Jillian and Emmett see it and wondering where the hell they got that from. And they put Steph and Kristen right on the spot and kind of force them to lie. So we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be good. And there's a rock climbing challenge, something that me and Diana
That's funny. That's like the
practiced.
one thing we practiced.
Jillian and Emmett, I think, are going to cause a lot of drama next week with this Express Pass. And it's good. It's getting down to the nitty gritty. I mean, half the teams are gone, and it's coming up to the final couple episodes. I believe it's already flying through, halfway through.
I got all my notes in.
So what do we got in the chat room? Justin is one. Is one what?
You're like the one prior, but that's what I thought you meant, like emotion.
No. I meant like people passionate and wanting to win. Like, they're like, oh, I'm in third, happy. Oh, I'm in fourth, cool. I'm in fifth. Yeah. It's like, I want to see people that like, damn, I want first place. Besides Jillian and Emmett, and nobody else really seems to want it. Besides Steph and Kristen, Jillian and Emmett.
I feel like there's a difference. Like some people are just happy to have the opportunity and to to have the opportunity and to just still be in it. And then there's people like you that we get second place and you're like, man, I'm in first place. And here I'm like,
I didn't come here to survive. I came to win.
Yeah, that's I'm.
I know. I'm just saying. I think
the difference in people.
Yeah, there's a winner's
very
mentality.
Competitive. You're not happy with second. Second is first loser.
You don't get anything for second. You don't get any benefit at all.
Except maybe going on All Stars. There is an All Stars.
Hopefully, season 30 also.
Yes, please. We're gonna watch Amazing Race Asia, but we're not going to podcast about it. Yeah, I'm not podcasting about it. I don't know if he's going to, but
I would join somebody else's podcast, but I'm not going to start a podcast about the Amazing Race Asia. So, like, if somebody who's doing an Amazing Race Asia podcast wants to have an American voice on it, cool. I'll do that. I'll help you out, but I'm not going to run another one. Not another TAR one. Maybe another show, so we can have a different style of format of a show we like talking about. I really want to do Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but it's like the end. We've just waited a little too long.
And so we could do the final one and then go back and do them all. Season 1, Epi 1. So that's it. What else? Any questions in the chat room? This is another short episode. We got the Big Brother tonight. We need to see. Is it tonight they see this? It's going to be very interesting.
We're not going to be here next Thursday. We're going on our honeymoon.
I put up the schedule, all the live schedule. If you want to see all the live events that are going to be coming up, they are all up for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So you can go to the racesrecap.com, which is our YouTube page. It takes you to our YouTube page. And under live streams, you can see all the live streams that are coming up for the next 3 weeks. So times, dates, everything is there. If you'd like to see it, share it, etc., etc. All right, get your questions in before we head on out of here. There's already a great Game of Thrones recap show. Cool.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up,
right.
too. Steph and Kristen are, my kind of girls. They have just, a cute relationship.
Oh, yes.
I like seeing them race because they're good racers. They're smart. They have a good relationship. That's kind of what I always look for. Like, how are they as a team, as a pair? And that's why, like, Jillian and Emmett, yeah, they're doing really well, but, you know.
We're going to St. Lucia for our honeymoon.
It's our Rachel Ray trip.
That we won from Rachel Ray.
We couldn't use it after we got married, so we had to use it before. So it's just kind
And
of
we're
our
leaving
style.
in 2-3 days, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. It's Monday.
So if you want to follow that journey, you could follow that on Snapchat at
No, I'll be
Justin
there.
Classic One. That's going to be the Snapchat you want to follow our trip to St.
You're
Lucia.
going to be broadcast. Like, anybody can just have access to any part of our life. Just join our honeymoon. Just Snapchat it.
Well, we are now reality/competition TV celebs,
I
so
wouldn't
that's
say
part of
that,
our
but
life.
no, I tell my students, don't call me a celebrity. I'm a teacher who was lucky enough to be cast on a television show.
Merci beaucoup.
So, but we will be going live, I'm sure, once, twice while we're in St. Lucia. So,
Yeah, Steph and Kristen, are that the favorites at this point, Steph and Kristen?
yes.
Yeah, I think Steph and Kristen are well, they were our favorites before the
Yeah, they were
race started.
definitely like me and James Earl would have had to fight over them.
I'm
But
going.
now that he's not here, they're mine.
I'm going back to the episode where we did the pre-judging because I think we've done pretty well. We've done pretty well with where we think people are going to go. Like we said, all right, they're going to be like the part of the first group eliminated, second group eliminated, and then like the finals.
I don't know, because we thought Kelly and Kate were going. We thought
We thought they would be in the first group. We thought Julie and Lo would be in the second group, which they'll probably be. Kelly and Kate got a little further than expected. I think they're the only ones, but everybody else.
No, we thought that I think Antoine and Safa would have lasted longer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll go back and look. I think I had them gone pretty early. So what else? That's going to do it? Is that going
If
to do it?
anybody's been to St. Lucia, have recommendations of where
Yes.
to go. We're staying at Sugar Beach of Viceroy Resort. Feel free to send us places.
This is the Classic One Media account on Snapchat. It's where I do the catch-up show every morning at 7 a.m. If you want to check it out, this is Classic One Media account.
Cool. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks for...
No, tell them about your thing. C11 Charity Can Challenge.
Yeah, once school starts up, I'm going to be re-promoting my charity can challenge with my new students. So if you have any old travel souvenirs, anything that you have gotten while you've traveled, could be old money, pens, magnets, keychains, anything that you've gotten that you want to get rid of or pay it forward. I collect them for my charity, and then when my students donate to the charity can, where I send it to the orphanage that we were fortunate enough to visit in Africa, then my students can pick a travel souvenir that people have donated, and it's kind of a thing to inspire them to travel.
I love it. It's P.O. Box 5587, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19143.
That's going to do it, though.
That is going to do it. And we're also raising some money for check eBay. We're going to be auctioning off some clothes we won the race and autographed material for Give Kids the World. So pay attention to our Facebook feed. We'll give you that information. We appreciate you guys spending the time with us each and every week. Thank you very much. I know how valuable your time
Good
is.
night.
Hope you were entertained. Later.
Bye.